I grew up with religion in my life somewhat. I grew up in the Jehovah's Witness organization, went to church on a regular basis, but never had a real relationship with God or Jesus. Through my teenage years, I got involved in hard partying with friends, drinking and drugs, and just letting loose. And my senior year, I dropped out of high school, and I met a man at a party who also was doing the same drugs, and that's what we bonded over. And over a period of months, we were dating, and all of a sudden I found out one day that I was pregnant. My initial response, as well as the father of the child, was, well, this is something we can take care of. We can't have a kid. This is, this is going to conflict with our lifestyle. And so my reasoning was an abortion. I waited a long time for the abortion, which is something that's been hard for me over the years to deal with, is that I waited 6 months, which is considered a late-term abortion, to actually go through with it. And so I was sent down to a hospital in Los Angeles, one of the few places that would do late-term abortions. I think one of the hardest parts going into it, looking back now as well, is when I was in the hospital waiting room. It was filled with women. Most of them were young, my age, and they all looked confused or sad, just sitting there waiting. And the staff just seemed to not have any feelings towards what was going on. It was weird being in that environment. I had no idea what to expect going into that. No one told me. It was physically traumatic, emotionally traumatic, leading up to it and afterwards. So I just kept thinking I could, as time went on, I would forget, or that I could bury it deep down inside and eventually I wouldn't have to deal with it. I did eventually get myself clean off drugs. A big part of that, I think, was realizing what I had done while I was on drugs and the decisions I had made. I went to college and got my associate's degree. Eventually met my husband. Due to my husband and his family, I eventually started going to church and reading the Bible and going back to prayer. And I got to the point where I realized that I could pray for forgiveness, repent, and lay it at his feet. And that there was forgiveness, which I never fully grasped before. I thought what I did was so bad, there was no going back. I couldn't share it with anyone, that God would never forgive me. I was too late. And when I realized it wasn't too late, and that I had been forgiven, and that there was new life waiting for me, that I was new through Jesus, it was a huge weight off my shoulders. This shame just kind of dissipated. And so I eventually became baptized about 3 years ago. And it was through a recovery group that I was directed to. It was a post-abortion recovery group. And I was able to meet other women who had been through the same situations, who had had an abortion in their past. And be able to share with them and hear their stories, and be able to delve very deep into things that we had buried way down inside of us that we did not want to face, because there are those feelings of depression and shame, and there's a lot of anger and bitterness that goes with abortion as well. And so through the recovery group, which was Bible-based ministry, was able to talk with these women in death and read through the scriptures I'd read before many times, but I looked at them in a whole new light and realized that besides knowing that I was forgiven, that God had forgiven me, I could also finally forgive myself. That really was the final step, where I was able to move on with my life and really be present in my marriage with my husband, and also starting a family of my own now, having a baby girl that I'm expecting soon. I'm able to take joy in her like I wasn't before. I started volunteering at a ministry in Denton, Woman to Woman Pregnancy Resource Center. It's everything from helping women that think they might be pregnant, that are pregnant, sharing with them everything from there are adoption agencies and placements that they can offer. There's support. You know, if you are pregnant, you're not alone. There's support groups. We're here to support you. It's a beautiful thing. You know, it's explaining to them the medical aspects of it, and also at the same time, the great thing about the ministry is we can also share the gospel and point them to the Bible and show them scriptures and just let them know, you know, if you haven't had a relationship, or maybe you did and you just left and turned your back, whatever it might be, it's still there for you. I'm at the point now, due to the Lord's work and recovery in general, where I am comfortable sharing my story.